Okay, so welcome to a new episode of our Just a Chat podcast. We are here with Ben Terry, who has been a member of Just a Chat for just over a year now. Ben is a very important part in the background for us. He is coming from a drug addiction background, gambling, alcohol, every sense of addiction you can imagine. Ben's been through it, and he's here to tell his story. And the idea of today is to let people know the questions and the things that they've always wanted to know without having somebody to ask. If there's anything that is discussed in this episode that you think that relates to you or you want some more assistance with or help with, please drop us a message on the page and we'll try and get you sorted. There will be links at the bottom of this episode as well for support services if you want to go direct. So just want to start by saying a big massive thank you, Ben, for coming on today, and start with, how are you?
I'm good, very good. Said, from where I've been to where I am today is a completely different world, and I keep my life very simple and I keep it in the day.
We'll pretty much just dive straight in. The biggest question that I suppose I want to know, because I don't come from that background, is what is an addict?
An addict is a man or woman whose life has been controlled by drugs, alcohol, gambling, sex, social media, whatever it may be, whatever your addiction is. It takes over your life. You're doing it without even really a thought. For me, it was using against my own will, if that makes sense. I knew I didn't want to use, but I had no other option to use, and it controlled me, mentally, physically.
So even though you didn't want to use, you couldn't resist the urge to use? It wasn't that you were chasing that feeling or whatever?
For me, my addiction started out as every other one. It was a sociable nighttime drug, weekend drug, that over time grew and grew and grew to the point where I was getting paid from my job on a Friday afternoon. I was coming home, getting drugs on the way home from work, grabbing a carry out, and by 12 o'clock Friday night, absolutely off my face, no wages left because I've gambled it all, and sitting blocked. So I would payday loan after payday loan after payday loan just to feed my kids. Do you know what I mean? And that became almost routine. It was a routinely thing.
And a lot of people would sort of imagine addicts would be sort of single people that have no ties and know this and go and do whatever they want when they can. But you were doing this with a family as well. How was that?
Because of what I've done to my family, and I'm not talking about my partner, my son, I'm talking about mother, brothers, sisters, friends, her side of the family too. They've seen all that, and I've done things. We'll not get into the nitty-gritty details of it, for the publicity of it, but some of the details of the things I've done, people would, if it was done on my partner or my son or my sister or my brother or mother or whatever, I'd be absolutely human. Do you know what I mean? I would be livid. So I had to come to terms with it. And a part of me trying to recover is I have to forgive myself for that. And that was one of the hardest things for me personally as part of my recovery, was knowing what I've done. I had to ask myself, can I forgive myself for that? Because in order to move forward, I have to have forgiveness for myself. But in order to ask other people to forgive me, I also have to give forgiveness. But I can't give forgiveness if I'm not willing to forgive myself for what I've done.
How did you get that forgiveness in yourself?
In treatment. I done a 12-week program in Uri, and I say this, I'm laughing because I can laugh now about it. At the time it wasn't so funny. I felt like I was kind of forced into treatment. Like my family done an intervention on me. Listen, it was attempted suicide. Come home after attempted suicide and told my partner. And before I knew it, the house was rammed. You know, and that pushed me a wee bit, you know, over the edge again, because now I had parents from both sides of the family there, I had brothers there, I had sister there, I had her there, all in this chaotic moment. You know, so...
But they were there to support you?
But I didn't see the support.
Right.
I was still blinded by my own addiction.
Yeah.
Saying, you're all here to give me one, you don't know, I can do it by myself. You know, I still in denial that I was even an addict.
Yeah. That's probably the hardest bit, is going from denial to acceptance.
Took me a long time, took me years and years and years. And it took me 6 weeks into rehab to realise that maybe I was wrong here.
So if I say to you, like, what was the point where you broke that in terms of denial, acceptance? Like, do you know the moment where you were like,
yeah,
oh shit?
Well, like I said, I was in that treatment centre, and my plan was go in, do like a weeks, get kicked out, back onto the streets, everybody would be off my back. I can do whatever the hell I want now. Happy days, you know. But before I went into treatment and before the attempted suicide, I was homeless. I was put out of my family home. I wouldn't say put out, I was asked to leave for the right reasons, you know, and someone's a bit too deep to be sharing here, but what are my actions? The person that I've become was not the person that I am. My attitude, I was full of anger, full of hate, self-centeredness, you know, and I wasn't even a quarter of the man that I knew I was inside. So I had to leave. My partner had to protect her son at all costs.
Yeah.
And I understand that. So I slept in my car for about a week. And at the start I thought it was great.
You had nobody on your back?
Nobody near me. I was as free as the wind.
Yeah.
But see, that night, it scared the absolute shit out of me. I was sitting in a dark car park around the lakes, sniffing drugs, eating tablets, sucking gas bottles and smoking weed. Scared, absolutely scared shitless, because I was on my own. But drugs led me to be on my own. When I was taking drugs at home, I wanted to be on my own. But when I was really alone, I was so scared. And then when I got into treatment, I thought I was going to do what I was going to do and get out. You know, when I run around that treatment centre like a kid, like Billy Big Balls, that's what I called myself in treatment. That was because I thought I was Billy Big Balls. There was nobody bigger and better than me. I've done more than what you can do, and anything you've done, I've done better. And if you tried to attack me and verbally or physically, I'd have made such a scene and caused the amount of chaotic behaviours, and I'd have caused uproar in that place that you went, I can't come about to the man, I don't even want to talk to him. You know, and it was 6 weeks into that programme, and I say you hit the wall. Fuck, I fell out of the plane, land face first on the wall. You know, I started to realise everybody was changing around me.
Sorry, just what you're saying about when you hit that wall, what is that wall? Is it like everyone sees it on TV and all? Is it like the cold sweats and it's all the drugs coming out, or is it the loneliness and
part of it, but
acceptance?
it's realisation. You're going, whoa, here, hold on here. You know, the drugs are starting to come out of my system, my head's coming back to normality, my blood pressure's dropping, I'm starting to think. I'm starting to realise and come to terms of what I have done. It took 6
weeks for that to happen? For sort of your system
staying
to
around
clean?
6 weeks, yeah.
So if anybody's sort of watching this and they're coming off drink, drugs, whatever, it's not a matter of, I haven't touched it this weekend, I'm feeling better. It's almost like you have to sort of push through that.
It depends
few
on
weeks,
your quantity, you know, and it is all about the quantity of your drink, drugs, or sex, or how many hours you're spending on social media. You know, self-harm is also addiction too. You know, it all depends on how much you're actually using your addiction of choice.
Yeah.
But for me, it was every night.
Yeah.
It was every day in work. It was every afternoon in work. It was at home. It was consistent. So for me to have that automatic bang, stop, I went into shock.
Yeah.
you know. But when I hit the wall, I started to come to terms. I started to realise what has been going on, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, I was blinded, I was running around like that, in addiction, because that's what it does to you, it blinds you. You're deaf and you're blind. It's talking to you in your own voice. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a thinking disease. It controls your mind completely. So when week 6, I think it was a Tuesday, I crumbled, absolutely crumbled. And that's when I had my second dose of, I don't want to be here no more. Because I realised who I had been, who I had become. It still tingles, you can probably see it in my eye, it starts to tingle. Because I realised what a scumbag that I had become, and the pain that I had caused my family and friends, the financial difficulties I left them in, the stress. Like, I could only picture what was going through my partner's head at the time. Do you know what I mean? And from that point, that night, I stood at the window of Cure Mirror, planning to kill myself in a treatment centre. And I was looking out that window and I had a meticulous plan, but I was so uncontrollably crying because of the mental breakdown I was having. Every time I wanted to take a step out the door, it wasn't even the door, it was the window. I couldn't get out the window. I had no energy. I believe today now that I like to believe that was somebody, either my best mate or God or somebody that I know who have lost to suicide, was pushing me back through that window, because I wanted to go out that window. But I physically couldn't push myself out that window.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to go home the next day. And the counsellor says, I can't keep you here, but give it 24 hours. And they spent time with me all day. You know, and they talked me through what was going through and what it was and what was happening to me. Because I just wanted to run from it.
Where did you want to, did you think, oh, I'm cured, I need to go home, or I just need to escape, or?
I didn't like the feelings.
So you needed to get out of that situation somewhere else?
Fight or flight.
Yeah.
I don't like them. I haven't dealt with them my whole life. You know, emotions, feelings, fear, trauma, PTSD, anxiety. What? You don't know me. But that's when I started hearing all these words and people saying these are suggestions that might be why you're using. What the fuck do you know?
Yeah.
Who are you to judge me? Like, I was the most judgmental person. So from when all that goes on, that day on Tuesday, by Thursday morning, my head was completely different. And when I say completely different, I mean completely, utterly something clicked in my head. And the counsellor said to me, she says, you know, this isn't a school playground. Stop treating it like a school playground or you go out the door. There's men dying on the list and you're sitting here wasting an opportunity. And then she says, imagine that was your best mate that you've lost. Imagine he was next and he died because you were fucking right in here. Sorry for the language, but that's the reality of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm in there acting Jack the Lad and somebody down there looking help can't get in because I'm there. Yeah. And that made me think. And that was one of the reasons why I think my head flipped. Because somebody had to relate to me what was happening. And when they brought my best mate in the equation, I know firsthand all them feelings that I had. And I wanted to help him so much. This is my chance to help him, even though he's not here. I have to do this for me, yes, but this is my chance to prove the point that I'm only a number, but I don't want to be part of the wrong statistics. So my mind changed completely. I started listening for once in my life. I listened, I took direction, I took constructive criticism.
You took it all on board?
Took it on board and implemented it.
Would you say that obviously took that 6 weeks for that sort of switch to flick? Once she says that then you wanted to escape, was that the point then where, was that harder basically to start hearing all that? Like I would imagine you were very low at that point. But to hear that from all these people and then to also know that it's voluntary and you can walk at any time, How did you keep that going? And was that important to keep going?
I had 30 men around me telling me why they're still here.
Other people in there?
Yeah. And when I actually, there's some stuff you don't sprawl out in a group setting, because something I may say, for all you know, could be related to them. You don't know who it is initially that you're sitting beside. Well, it could be a prison officer, it could be a policeman, it could be a soldier, it could be a doctor, it could be a surgeon, it could be a judge. Because addiction does not judge anybody, it does not discriminate, it's not a racist. Do you know what I mean? So, one of the best phrases I've ever heard saying is, get 20 addicts, get them in a room, get everybody to write down all their problems and throw them on the floor. See how quickly you pick your own page back up.
That's a good point.
You only think you're in the shit sometimes until you hear what other people have gone through. And you're going, but we say that's the not yet.
Yeah.
Because that can happen very, very easily. So from that, don't want help, to, oh shit, I don't like this anymore. How do I fix this? 5 days for me. Because the feelings that I had inside, I wanted them out. And I didn't want to run away anymore. Because my way does not work. If I ran out that door and he goes, you can leave tomorrow, you can leave now, I'll phone your... I'll have to walk home from here. None of my family came and got me. And if they did, they probably bothered me.
Yeah.
And that's a fact. You know, when my brother warned me and he says, you go in there and you come out before 10 12 weeks, he says, be warned, I'm waiting on you.
Yeah.
And that's a serious threat. And he meant it. Because they were sick of the pain.
I think it shows how meaningful that is to your family as well, that they're like telling you anything they need to tell you to make sure that you do your 12 weeks. It's like, do not come out of there. You know, I think it's obvious, a lot of people sort of, I know we sit and talk about your story and what you've been through, but imagine if we had a family member on that chair, it would probably be a similar story, as intense, as hurtful, as hard, but nobody really thinks of the people around that's affected. Like mental health itself, sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes it's more difficult for the husbands or wives or partners or children, and that's something that when you're going through what you're going through, your priority is you and getting you right. But at the same time, you said yourself, you can't fix everyone around you until you fix yourself.
Well, that's it, but I'm in there getting fixed. Who's fixing them?
So whenever you came out of rehab, you did the full 12 weeks?
On the whole 12
And when you come back out, is there phones and all out in rehab?
There's no phones, there's no radio, there's no TV, there's no newspaper, there's no contact with the outside world at all, ever.
Now that possibly could probably scare people off that's listening to this, but how important is that?
Because for me, in my own aspect, I needed to be tucked away from society.
Yeah.
The people, the places, the things. They're the three big major principles. If you live by them and you change them, you have a good chance at this. People, places and things. The people that I was using to get, or anything, anybody, and I mean, like, I thought I had hundreds of so-called friends, drug dealers, this person, that person, you know, and I was running from town to town every day, different town every day, so nobody would understand how much drugs or whatever it was I was buying. Nobody would know, because I'm in this town, and I'm in that town, I'm in that town, I'm in that town, going as far afield as I'm from. You know, people talk, people see it, but for me, I feel when I came out of treatment and I wasn't fixed, I was by no means cured. Put this, when I left treatment, my brother picked me up and he hugged me and he says, I'm so proud of you. See, 12 weeks before, I wanted to be at the countdown
Yeah.
because he was trying to stop me from taking drugs. I hated that man because I was jealous. To be honest, it was jealousy and resentment. Two big major things.
Yeah.
Because his life was sorted out. He was going on, buying houses, having a good job, moving on his life, and I was stuck in my shithole.
Yeah.
And because he was coming to tell me what to do, no chance. Nobody tells
But
me
when
what
you
to
come
do.
out of that and you had a lot of clear head, understanding, you knew what was happening at home and everything, and then when you seen him, the person that you resented and whatever, was it a different feeling?
Completely, because in treatment I took the time to apologise, to make some amends, and I didn't go around. Like, the way you communicate with other people in treatment would be, for Conor, it's if you have kids, you get a 10-minute phone call with them once a week, and you get a 15-minute phone call with one other person a week, and then you write to them. It's post thing. But the reason for the letters and the reason why you don't get phone calls or anything like that is because in the heat of a moment you say irrational things to people. In the heat of a moment you may tell somebody something and then go, oh, I shouldn't have said that, because that could cause pain for them, it could cause unrest for other people. Also put you in the firing line, who you've said that to, and they're going to go and tell such and such, you said such and such, and the next minute there's a group of men standing at the doors of treatment looking at you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. At the same time, you can get yourself, the more you talk to people, the more chance you have of, because of what you're going through, having a confrontation or an issue or an argument, which as you're slowly progressing, you can take 2 steps forward, 6 steps back very quickly. So it does seem important. I think it's important to get that message out in terms of what you're getting yourself into, but it is worth it.
But that's part of the learning process. Me, as an addict, I want things yesterday. I want it now, and if you don't get it now, I ain't going elsewhere, and you can go jump. So trying to get yourself to go, and that's part of the letters too. So if you write something, leave it for a week, and then come back, so you can recall that. It's not too late, and that stems from writing letters. So you get yourself into the routine of going, oh, I seen here such and such hasn't talked to me, has never wrote to me, he can go blah 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 blah. And then a week later you go, well,
there's no point saying
why do I
that,
need to cause more arguments? Who am I?
Many people would love to take back something they've said in an argument to the partner or wife. You know, I suppose you're right that way. When you came out of rehab, you're now faced with the world again. Phones, social media, text messages, old people getting in contact, family that's been disappointed, people you've hurt. How was that side of it?
Well,
You're in a slow progression here and you're at a good point, but I'd imagine that would be a very difficult piece.
well, this is what I'm going to say, right? And this will show you exactly how powerful addiction is. I was in the car, I drove out the gate, I thought about buying drugs.
As you left,
As I was driving out the gate,
then what?
I laughed at myself.
Right? What was different from before?
Because I knew that everything that I've gained is only one thought away. That's when I realised I'm one bad decision or one thought away from going back. I didn't realise how vulnerable I was to my own self, not to society just as much. I'm vulnerable to my own mind. And that's when I really realised that my life had become unmanageable. I couldn't control my life. My head controlled me. And part of the things in treatment that we learnt was, don't listen so much here, start listening here.
Which is hard to identify the difference.
But that's why you're in treatment.
Yeah.
And that's what they do.
And they show you how to...
They teach.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a 12-week program and you do 12 different tasks. One of the tasks is listening. For a week, you have to talk about how to listen.
Right.
I know how to listen. Saves me years. And that was my point. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not saying that to be a joke. I can listen to the best of anybody. If I'm in a dark room surrounded by 20 men, I'll pick up the one who's doing something the worst and I'll find him. And I'll hold on to that. But then that's me isolating somebody because I'm judging them.
Yeah.
If everybody else is sitting talking about roses and shopping and he's talking about smashing windows, stealing cars, I'm pinning myself on him for that sole purpose is I'm going to compare myself to him because I'm not as bad as him. I think about stealing cars, he's worse than me. And that's that trait that you kind of catch on to by just listening. So instead of listening to his problems or what he's done worse, I try and find the resemblance. Now, I'll go, I felt that way. Do you know what? That's how I used to think. That's how I used to act. Find the similarities rather than the difference. Because it's more, then I can relate to them more. Do you know what I mean? And that takes time to build up. Do you know what I mean? It's not something, like I was in addiction for 6.5, 7 years. I'm not going to be cured in 12 weeks.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but you're never cured.
I think that's a good point as well. You say, just because you've went and completed rehab, you're not better. You know, like you always say to me, once an addict, always an addict. What does that mean?
Well, the way I look at it is, one of the hardest things for me to come to terms with is it's a disease. People don't understand, right? And I have a problem with saying I have a problem. I don't like to admit that I'm not normal. I don't like to admit that there's something wrong with me. Because people might judge me for that. Does that make me any weaker than you? Does it make me more of a scumbag? Or that? You mentioned alcoholic. You picture a wino standing in the streets on a bench with a brown paper bag and sleeping. Addict, what's the first thing that goes into your head? It's normally some scumbag sitting in a corner with needles hanging out of them, folded over in a chair, running around in a rail, wiped off their head, doing erratic things. Alcohol is the same thing as a drug addict. Drugs are exactly the same things as social media. It's exactly the same thing as sex. It's exactly the same thing as self-harm. It's all one thing. It's called addiction. And
in whatever form.
Whatever form it is, but it's in your head. Most addicts have very low hits of dopamine to the brain. So we have to do other things to get that release. That normal release. Like for sex addicts, dopamine levels rise like 2 or 3% times more than what you normally have of winning a trophy. Somebody saying well done. So the dopamine levels have to shoot, and because we have a blockade, because our disease doesn't want us to feel good, it wants us to feel shit, so it can kill us ultimately. So it blocks the dopamine levels to the brain. So we have to do bigger, better things to get that release, to get that satisfaction. Does that make sense? Yeah. So when we get there, it's only temporary. Yeah. But our brains allow us to get that. The disease tells us, yeah, that's nice, keep going, keep going, keep going.
That's why they always say you're chasing the hit or chasing the high.
Yeah, you're chasing it. You get that first hit, it's amazing. Like I loved it. I still love it. If I could take drugs and not have addiction, I'd probably still do it. But I can't, and that's the reality of it. I need to abstain from all drugs, in order to recover.
And that's alcohol as well?
Everything.
See, that's one thing I said to you a couple of weeks ago. We had an event, and after the event we all went up to the bar and had a few drinks and had a wee chat and all the rest. And it amazed me that you were there, sitting having a drink, Coke, and I was like, how does that feel? And you were like, 100%. I'm like, how does that feel, you know? But like being in that environment, you know, with everyone else is doing it around you.
See, I've got that point now because I think of the amount of deaths that I've gone through, including my dad, friends, George, Johnny, Pip, wee Shoot. Like, I've lost my wee cousin, I've lost an auntie, I've lost a lot of people in the last 21 months that I've been in recovery. I had news, and that's because I'm aware of what's out there for me. And the reality of it is, I go out, I leave here now, I go get a pint because I feel good. Alright, my head tells me you need a pint, well done. I take that pint, that ends up in the drugs. I'm gone on a 6-day bender. Nobody's going to see me. You're going to get a ladder, the band's hanging in a tree, or he's cut himself,
or locked
because
up, or whatever
it may be,
yeah.
whatever I've done, threw myself up. It could be lots of different things, whatever I feel in the moment, because I don't want to live with the shame and the guilt of what I've done again. Not just for me, but for everybody that stood by me and put time, effort, money. And I don't do it just for them, I do it for me, because I can get my misery fully refunded without a problem. Without a problem. It's one bad decision away. And that, for me, it makes me say, well, do you want to go back there? No. Is it worth going back there? Is it worth my life? No. Am I perfect? And can I sit there all the time in the pub? Sometimes I have to leave that pub. I put my protection first, but I always have a plan B. So when I'm sitting in a awards night, you'll probably find I'll sit beside a select few, and that's not me judging anybody, put that out there, but I'll pick somebody there that I can, who knows my story, who knows who I am, and who can go, are you alright? And that may
just a wee tiny glimmer of support if you need it.
But most of the time I'm in the pub with my family members. I am not in the pub on my own, ever.
Yeah.
Ever.
That's
Somebody goes to me,
important too.
go into the carry it for me? No. Like, I've had family members that are still in addiction. It doesn't mean I can't talk to them. I just can't be with them all the time.
Yeah.
When they're using.
I'm sure you have sort of highs and lows, and some days you're strong and some days you're weak, and sort of picking those times to be around certain situations.
Well, see, to be honest, like the last few days I've struggled a wee bit, and that's the truth, and I didn't see it. My partner pulled it. As an instance, I was giving dirty looks out. I was narky, biting. Come on, settled, restless. And my partner goes, "Are you okay?" "Yep." "Are you okay?" "Yep." "You're not." And I'm glad she's the part of "you're not," because I'll bullshit her till the cows come home. But she's not going to take it.
Yeah.
She knows, and she's relating to me, but I didn't see it. And last night, it was kind of the same. And I sat down, and she goes, "What's going on?" And she'll be honest, I don't have the answers. And that's okay.
Yeah.
I don't have the answers yet. I'll go away and I'll work on myself. I'll ring my sponsor. I'll do stat work.
Yeah, you've
I'll
got a
start
sort of
writing
plan in
how
place
I'm
as to
feeling.
when you're feeling like that. You might necessarily know what's making you feel like that or what the reasons are, but as long as you have that process.
It's the fact I didn't even know.
Yeah.
Somebody else had to tell me, because everybody else sees it first. Because we're still blinded.
Yeah.
Everybody else will see us change before we change. Because we're still blind. I think that's not just for an addiction, I think that's on most people.
Oh yeah.
Most people, just general people alone. Do you know what I mean? People who love you and know you the best will see your change in behaviour, attitude, how you dress. When was the last time you washed? That would be a big thing for me, getting washed. An addiction, I never washed. Because I wanted to be, I didn't want to wash.
I think it's sort of very important from what you're saying is to have not only the right people around you, but to trust those people. And there's a lot of times where, say for example, you come off a bender, you've been on it for 4 days and you don't think you have a problem, and maybe your mother or partner or friend goes, "That's not right." The first thing you do is shrug it off. But next time that happens, next time somebody says that to you, take 10 seconds before you answer and step back and say, is what he's saying true? And I think you'll maybe come to terms a lot better with problems and how to fix problems if you can actually be a bit more honest to yourself and listen to the people who sometimes, like you say, people see difference in you before you.
Well, if you think you might have a problem, that automatically suggests that you're really concerned. So maybe that is the problem. Do you get what I mean?
But
if you're really thinking that you have a problem,
you probably have a problem.
You probably have a problem. But if you go on to Narcotics Anonymous UK, Ireland, wherever you're from, right? There's a pamphlet there, and it's on the homepage, right? And it says, "Am I an addict?" Click that link and answer the questions honestly. And I'll soon tell you if you're an addict.
Well, do you know what we'll do? We'll get that link and we'll put that link at the top of the description. So whenever this goes live, we'll put that maybe on the video as well. And I think that's very important because I think there's a lot of people will, if they do try this, will be surprised at the answer. Like I myself, we're all in the same situation. We've all got our ups, downs, our highs, or lows. Maybe drink for 2 or 3 days, or gamble, or maybe at the end of the gambling you feel bad and you're like, was that okay? You know, have I a problem here? It's like,
See,
well, not really, because
difference.
another 20 quid might just get me my money back. And you know, I was like, but I'm working now, so I'm not going. But I can go Monday to Friday without drinking, so I don't have a problem. But on Saturday, Sunday, I'm drinking. Friday, I'm drinking. Saturday, I'm drinking. Sunday, I'm drinking. But I don't have a problem because I can stop on Monday. So I think that's the definition of addict, is you can't go without it.
Not really.
Yeah.
You can't go without it. I went very drunk for 4 days. Just went harder when I got them. For longer.
I think that is a common thing. Like a lot of people say, like,
who's
I've
an
been drinking
addict?
a few weeks.
What's an addict look like?
Yeah.
How does an addict think? How do they act? How do they dress? They don't have an arrow above their head or a certain flag. Like I say, that persona of an addict is somebody bent over on a bench or in an alleyway with a needle in their arm.
Yeah.
There's people struggling with addiction at the highest forms of government.
Similar with sort of mental health issues. Sometimes
It's exactly the same.
it's the happiest people putting on a front that you
was
just
me.
don't know.
That was me. You know.
In terms of the temptations, obviously you're bound to get a lot of temptations still, every day or whatever. When that comes, how do you deal with those? I know you mentioned about when you're at a bar and you sit with the people, so they're sort of part of it.
Well, that's the difference. It's if I don't feel right in a certain environment, I leave automatically. For the simple being is, I can't trust myself. But if I'm sitting with other people who know me, know my story, and are willing to do anything to protect me and my recovery, they're the only people I'll be in pubs with. And it's not like I'm going to a pub for a night out. I'm going to a pub for a meal, an award ceremony, fight night, whatever. That's only time.
Football match or
whatever. You know, it's camaraderie. I can have 1 or 2 cokes and you'll know yourself, and anybody who's been in the pub with me knows I'm there for maybe maximum 45 minutes an hour. I'm gone.
Yeah.
I'm gone. It's seas later. That's me. I'm done. I know my limits. So whenever I get a craving, like I've sat in the pub and looked at somebody drinking a pint and going, that fucking looks class.
Yeah.
I'm damned to even smell that. Do you know what I mean? But the fact is go and smell it and then taste it. Alright? And then see when the casket's going on top of your dad's casket and you inside it. Ask me, was it worth it? Because that's the reality of where I'll go. And that is the reality of addictions. You go on to the bitter ends, jails, institutions, or death, or you find a new way to live.
Very hard words, but sometimes it's needed.
It's life or death situation, mate. There is no how you doing things like this. This is reality.
And if you were to go back in your life and change one thing, what would you change?
If I was to go back in my life and change one thing, I don't think I would.
You wouldn't change anything? Why?
Because it makes me who I am. I think fate has its own way of working things out, and I think life has its own tests and struggles for everybody, and everybody's different. So if I change one thing, it means I'm changing everything. because
you might be a different person now.
I would be a different person. I could be in a different place. I'd be in a different situation in my life. So I know most people say that they change their family to become more wealthier or whatever, but no amount of money is going to bring me the happiness that I have with very little that I have in life right now.
I think that's very important, because when you're saying you wouldn't change anything because of where you're at now, even though you had a very, very intense past, that's amazing that what you've been through and how you feel now is the way it is. Like, that's what I was going to say. The next question will be that, like, if somebody is in the deep, dark trenches that you were in, this is a prime example. It's not if I could go back and change this, it's this is what I can change to move forward and have the best life.
But what can I change that's going to make a difference? Past. No, history. Yesterday's history, tomorrow's the future. Don't live in any of them. Because the way I look at it is, everything I've done, I've dealt with now. But I didn't close the Pandora's box. It's still open. I still go back and have a wee peek in to remind myself of how far I've actually come. I know that might sound self-centered or ego or big-headed, but my journey is amazing. You know, I came from one attempt and 1 month of suicide, to feeling hopelessness, worthless, shamed, regret, hatred, self-hatred, all them big emotions and feelings, and feeling like there is no other way out here, only suicide. And that was my only thought, to sitting here now, being part of this charity, you know, and going out and doing things like this, just to bring that wee bit more awareness and to prove to people that there is a new way of life. And if you really want it, and you do so many great things in a staggered period of time, with the right supporting people, like, your life can change. Like, I'm not perfect. My life's like, right now I'm up here, but I know it's only going to last so long. I'm going to come down.
But you have a plan in place for when you're coming down, you have the right people around you.
I have a support network, I have an NA program, I have the likes of you guys, you know what I mean? I'm not afraid to pick up the phone. Because if I don't pick up that phone, I don't tell somebody, I'm in danger. Big time danger. And what is, even just say, my name's such and such, can you help me? I live in this area. See, if you can't talk over the phone, text somebody. It doesn't have to be face to face, it doesn't have to be over the phone, it could be an email or anything. It's that point of connection. And for me, having that today is where I'm part of this charity, you know, and it's an amazing charity, and I'm also part of NA, you know, and I've also a big family support network and friends. That's all I need. And for them to rally around me at my time of need, which happens regularly, they pick me up.
Yeah.
And I look back in the Pandora's box and I see, all right, you know, I'm not that person anymore. I'm happy. I found contentment. I've got my family back. I've got the house back. I know it's not the best house in the world. I don't drive the best car in the world. I'm going on family holidays. I'm going on my second family holiday this year. I'm paying my bills. I'm debt free. I'm saving money. I'm quite happy.
All because you accepted that change.
Be willing to open my mind, be open-minded.
I think it was a lot of that last bit that you talked about was surround yourself with the right people, which is crucial.
100%.
The flip side of it is, how do you protect yourself from the wrong people?
Well, for me, when I left treatment, new phone number, and because of certain reasons from my past, I didn't have to go back to the area that I was living in. So I changed my area, and I cut them all out. Did any of them ever
try and get in contact? And
I bump into them. I've seen them. I'm not ignorant enough to go, I'm better than you, because I'm not. I'll acknowledge them people. At the end of the day, I took the drugs, not them.
So if I say, for example, I'm drug dealer, you bump into me or whatever, I'm like, oh, I haven't seen you in a while, Ben. Do you
it's
need
just
a bit
that-
of stuff?
No.
What's your response?
My response is, I'm off it. It's not my life anymore.
Brilliant.
And then they see me. And I don't want to say it too much, but it happened
Yeah.
recently. And they came to me for help in the last week.
Fantastic.
So that just tells you, they're seeing me and they're going, and I'm not, that just sounds, when I say this, it sounds like it's all about me, but it's not, but they're seeing who I was to who I am today, and they're going, I want a bit of that.
Yeah.
And that's all as as a person, as an addict, want somebody to see that life is better without drugs.
Yeah.
Although it's hard, it's rewarding. Like, I could sit with myself in a house by myself and not think about drugs. See, for me, that's absolutely amazing. Like, that's class, because I am at peace with myself,
Yeah.
and that is the biggest reward that I feel, for me personally, that I have ever gained, is to being able to sit in my own head and not be scared,
Yeah.
because that is the big problem. Being scared of your own head, your own thoughts, that's where the mental health side kicks in big time, because you have to deal with them, and if you're not ready to deal with them, it's a danger zone. And there is no harm in reaching out for help. I wish I had done it sooner, but ultimately I couldn't, because I was still surrounded by the wrong people in the wrong places.
Yeah.
If I had reached out for help when I did, or where I was, it wouldn't have worked.
You weren't ready for the help?
Wasn't ready. So they know, most of the people that I was running about with, they know my story. Right? It's not a secret. I'm an addict, I've been to treatment. They know that. And see, to be honest, I think most of them took it actually very, very well. I was expecting confrontation. No, screw you, la la la. No. They haven't hounded me, they haven't texted me, they haven't added me on social media or anything like that. So they know, and I respect them for that.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that there's other people out there struggling because people are hounding them.
Well, we talked about having the right people around you, and that's a lot, predominantly family, friends, and then how to get sort of step away from the wrong people. How important is the wider circle? That's sort of your inner circle. The wider circle, I want to say, in terms of football teams, groups like Just a Chat, other groups that's out there. There's a lot of groups out there that you can get into, even volunteering for charities, bucket collections, anything,
Well, this is it. Well, as most of you know, I'm not currently working at the moment, but my missus says I'm the most busiest unemployed person she's seen in her life.
Yeah.
Because it's okay to say no sometimes, yes, but for me, my goal in my life right now is to bring as much awareness to men and women's mental health, to addiction, and having that support of Just a Chat. Like, I started coaching from a local football team, so that's another support network. I have you guys here at Just a Chat. I have NA. You know what I mean? I have my sponsors. I have new friends in recovery in America, Scotland, and you'll start to develop that framework outside of your own area, where some people in Scotland will know more about me than my aunties and uncles.
Yeah.
Because that's the bond that you build with people, and you start to develop that trust with them. So sometimes the way I put it would be, your family might know you, but they might not know everything you've done. But you can communicate with some stranger.
Or at the same time, they mightn't understand. Because a lot of time you go to sort of somebody from maybe a father or grandfather, older generation, and say, I'm struggling with my mental health. 9 times out of 10, the answer gets catch yourself on, because it didn't happen to them, they weren't aware of it, and they didn't go through it. That's probably the same from an addiction background. As in, if you go to somebody that isn't an addict, that's why I started with the first question, what is an addict? Because to me, an addict is what you described, somebody in the street with deals with that. But it's good to hear an addict's version of an addict. So, sort of, with the NA meetings as well, like, how long have you been sober?
21 months here in 5 days.
But you still go to the meetings, don't you?
Well, yeah, I'll just put this out, we are not affiliated, Just Chat is not affiliated with NA, and NA is not affiliated with Just a Chat in any way, shape or form, but NA gives me a program, a daily program, that has a 12-step program that will help you live through everything I've just talked about there. That's practically the 12-step program. You know, you'll get a sponsor, you go to meetings. Because if I sit there telling you everything how I feel as an addict, how are you supposed to know what that feels like? You can empathise, but to have that true feeling, that true connection of, here, he's talking about me. I could be sitting talking to an absolute stranger, and you could be listening to that conversation, you be going, that's my story, he's telling my story.
But how can I give you advice?
Yeah.
Who am I to give you advice when I haven't been through it?
But then that comes back to being open-minded. Be willing to take advice from anybody, because you don't know, because my way doesn't work.
Yeah.
And didn't work.
True, yeah.
You know, and people say don't take uneducated advice from uneducated people. But what is uneducated? What does that mean? He might not know anything about addiction, but he might say one thing.
Yeah.
Do you know what? He's right. I need to stop thinking that way. Or somebody being blunt with you. Sometimes I need to be people to be upfront and blunt with me, because I'll walk all over the top of you. You know, and you'll get that in and there's meetings all around the world. Afghanistan, Iraq, China, everywhere.
And you can jump in and out of them as much as you
Anytime
want.
you go on that website, that link, you know, but we'll use the link for Northern Ireland, UK here, you know. It gives you everything you need to know. Am I an addict? What is the NA program? It tells you everything you need to know. You'll find it on that link. You know, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you what you have to do. Go and look at it, answer questions. It's all thing I suggest. I can't tell you to go to a meeting and tell you this is what you need to do.
Yeah.
That's up to you, mate. That's your life.
Everyone's
it's your choice.
journey, everyone's
I am not going
recovery's
to force
all
anybody
different.
to do nothing they don't want to do. But if you want a new way of life,
Here's multiple ways that you can go about it.
Yep.
Things that you can change. One thing I'm sure that, as somebody who doesn't know that side of it, if you're done your rehab and if you've in your recovery and you're clean 21 months, why do you still need the meetings? I'm not saying that's what I want to know in terms of, that's just a question that's probably out there. It's like, at what point do you stop?
never.
Right?
Simple fact is, you've got a disease in your head. It's an incurable disease. There's no cure for this. And I know when I say never, see sometimes now I go, fuck's sake. I mean, I can't take drugs ever again. I can't have sex ever again, or whatever it may be. No. If your addiction is alcohol, you can't drink alcohol. But that doesn't mean you can go and develop an addiction with social media, with powder drugs, liquid drugs, whatever it may be, or whatever it may be. You'll substitute one for another. I took drugs, I stopped drinking, or taking drugs and drinking. I smoked cannabis, didn't drink. I drank, didn't take anything else. And then I started gambling and didn't do anything else. So
it wasn't the drugs, it was the addiction. It was the addiction.
It's the addiction.
It was just the addiction, not the drugs. It wasn't like I'm not addicted to this, so if I stay off the drugs I could drink it. It was just the addiction.
Addictions. I went from alcohol to drugs to gambling, back to alcohol, back to drugs, to doing all three. At the same time. I was substituting one for another. I was still active. I was still gambling. When I stopped gambling, I went back on the drink. When I stopped drinking, I went back on the drugs. And when I went back on drugs, I ended up doing all
And you
three.
probably thought you were doing okay because you were able to stop the drugs and stop the drink and stop the gambling, but like you said, you were just replacing it. Yeah, I think that's pretty much. Oh, sorry, one more question, which I think is probably the most important. What advice would you give to somebody who is sitting here watching this thinking, maybe that's me, like maybe that's me? Or if they're in the car, or if they're at rock bottom?
If you're in that car, you're in that sorry, I've just gone back in my head there. I know right now you're probably sitting there going, there's nothing that we can do anymore. I am feeling that emotion again. I felt like nobody could help me, but there is. There is lots of people out there right now who would run and help you at a heartbeat. As long as you're willing to pick up the phone, doesn't even have to, just drive to somebody's house. Wave down a stranger and tell them how you're feeling. That's all it takes. And it's that one wee bit of going out of your comfort zone just to speak about what you're doing, even if it's a complete stranger. Just us guys, message us, you know, or the Just a Chat page, friend, family, anybody, just speak to somebody. Tell them how you're feeling. If you've got decent needs and you've got decent family members, or anybody around you, even if it's a complete stranger, they're going to spend time with you. They're going to give you their ear. And hopefully, with the right support network, you'll go and you'll start learning why you're feeling the way you're feeling, and you'll be able to come to terms with what's really going on in your life and start taking action to fix it. And when you start doing them simple things repeatedly and consistently, your life starts to turn around. Your head gets clear, your life gets clear. You feel contentment and happiness again. And that's all I want in life, is happiness, contentment and peace within my own ears. And you can get that. So just pick up the phone, go and reach out. It's just that point of breaking, telling yourself, I'm worth living for. Because everybody deserves to live. No matter what you've done in your life, no matter how much you think people you've hurt, you deserve to live. Nobody deserves to go that way, ever. So tell yourself that. And get the courage somewhere from somehow and pick up the phone or reach out to somebody.
Or even if, like he says, a big part of that was sort of shame, embarrassment, whatever. Like there's text services like Shout as well, where you can sit and text a counsellor, so you don't have to have that face to face or phone call or say it out loud. Sometimes saying it out loud is very difficult, but you can start that process and you can just message. So all them links will be in below. But I think sort of to finish up, we recently had an awards night, and myself and the wife sat for ages thinking, we want to do this award, the Chairman's Recognition Award, and we want this to run yearly. And I think by watching this, you'll understand why Ben was the first recipient of that. What he brings to Just a Chat is incredible. His spirit and the ability to sit for confidence in that chair and be honest and open about his experience to help others. You've been a very integral part of the background, and I believe that you've changed lives, if not saved lives, in our group. And I just want to say, sort of on behalf of all of us at Just a Chat, and probably everybody watching this, a big massive thank you. So cheers, buddy. Thank you. Appreciate it. And like I says, all the support networks will be in the link below. And yeah, if there's one person that's heard something today that's going to change something tomorrow, then it's all been worth it. So thanks very much.
Thank you.